Good afternoon. My name is Misty Evans, and I'd like to share with you one of the most pivotal moments of my life, and that's when I met my current husband. I was 17 years old, and I was just hanging out with a girlfriend on a Friday night, and she told me we were going to go meet some of our friends. I didn't know where we were going until we ended up probably about 9-10 p.m. at a graveyard. All of a sudden, out in the distance, I saw about 6 or 7 guys, all in fatigues with bandanas on their heads and everything, and I only knew one of those guys, and it was not my husband. She was a little bit more bold than I was really, really shy, and I was just thinking, it's dark out here, there's a bunch of guys, there's just me and my girlfriend, what's going to end up happening to us, You really don't want to put yourself in that situation in this day and age, but I graduated in 1994. This happened in 1993. All of a sudden, I just felt a pair of green eyes boring into my head, and I just looked up, and this guy was just staring at me. He was real quiet, didn't say anything. He just stared at me for probably about 2 hours. When we were getting ready to leave there, I hadn't said a word to anybody, and he walks up to me and he said, "You've got the most beautiful hair and eyes that I've ever seen." I just stood there and stared at him thinking he was flat out crazy, but I said thank you anyway, and I walked away. 3 or 4 months later, I ended up having to transfer schools because my parents had gotten divorced and custody shifted from my father to my mother. So I was in the latter part of my senior year in high school, and I ended up going to a different school. Walked in on that first day. I knew a lot of people there because we went to church together. And I was just asking about him because I just couldn't get him out of my mind. He just said those few words to me and then he left, but I still just couldn't get him out of my mind. And then I talked to one of my friends, and she said, "Yes, Rick goes to this school. You might be able to see him." And as soon as I did, my heart just dropped, and I knew that he was going to be my husband one day. I didn't know when, but I knew it would be one day. For the next 6 months, we spent pretty much a whirlwind romance. We went to church together. His father took him to the rifle range, and they taught me how to shoot a gun, and we just hung out and talked, and never had any sort of inappropriate behavior ever during all that time. 6 months later, I ended up graduating high school, and we split. He went to South Florida in order to go work with his dad, and I joined the Navy. So as soon as I got in, I was sitting there thinking, I'll never see him again. We lost touch. We had broken up because we just didn't want to be apart, but then again, I knew that there was a possibility I wouldn't see him for a very long time. So I went on, and years and years and years later, I'd gotten remarried, had 2 small children, and my husband and I split up. One day I was walking to the store to use the phone, and I saw a young man filling up a car. I sat there and I looked at him and thought, no way, that's not him, it couldn't be. And he just walked up to me and he just said, "Misty." He just whispered it. I didn't hear him. But I just turned around and I said, "Oh my God, there you are." And I knew then that I was going to end up spending the rest of my life with him. His first wife and he got divorced, and my husband and I got divorced. And here it is, probably about 17 years later. We did get married. We got married almost 5 years ago. And I'm just sitting here thinking how lucky I am that I have the most incredible man in the world. He's a great husband. He's a great father. He's my best friend. So this tribute is for you. Richard Neal Evans III, I love you with all my heart and soul. And I'm so glad that I ended up in that graveyard. And I thank God every day that I ended up in your life. I want to thank you for being my best friend and for seeing us through all those awful times. And thank you for working so hard to support our family. I hope that everyone else out there is just as lucky as I am, that you have someone to love you so much. But if you don't feel like that, don't rush it, because I promise you, if it's meant to be, God will make it happen. Thank you, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.